Views and opinions expressed in this production are those of the individual and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Shooters Nation or our sponsors. Information provided on this show is not a replacement for legal counsel or professional training. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. This is especially true on live shows.
Welcome to the Shooters Nation podcast, the talk show for you, the armed citizen. Join us as we discuss guns and gear, training, mindset and knowledge, industry news and buzz, and of course, the firearms culture. Be sure to join us after the show at shootersnation.com and become part of the Shooters Nation.
Hello and welcome to the Shooters Nation podcast. I'm your host, David Yancey, and this is episode number 11. We're once again recording in front of a live YouTube audience for our listeners who subscribe to us via the Shooters Nation Mail Blast. So if you're watching us live, rest assured that you're at the right place. This really is my ugly face, and no, you're not watching Shrek Goes to Nashville. Be sure to use the chat window in the YouTube session, and we'll try to work in any questions or comments that you have throughout the show. Joining me tonight is the ever-talented and probably still a little jet-lagged Mark Lancaster of Squared Away Customs. How's it going, Mark?
Going awesome. Going awesome. Jet lag is gone. It was only 1 hour, right? So it was only an hour time difference, but it was a long week, that's for sure.
I bet, man. Yeah, we're going to get into that, but your week, I mean, how many hours would you say that, total you were going at it compared to like a work week?
Oh, we were up at 7, and we were back in the hotel around 1 o'clock a.m. Okay. So, but that was 4 days straight.
That's a long day,
with
man.
Flights and travel and everything in between. So
yeah, that's a lot. Well, I'm anxious to hear about it, and I think our listeners probably are too. Also joining us tonight, because we need adult supervision, is the star of Breaking Amish, Jordan Linscheid. So, yeah, I went there, man.
It's okay. I think anyone that's actually familiar with the Amish would know that the mustache kind of outs me as a Rumspringa participant. So I'm doing well, David.
Like a perpetual Rumspringa? Is that what it is?
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what I'm on.
Permanent vacation? Yeah.
I may get that tattooed on a particular body part at some point, but no, I better not say that. I'm supposed to be the adult in the room this evening.
I don't even want to know where that tattoo is going to be. That's awesome. It's good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us. Where are you at tonight?
Thanks, David. I am in Zanesville, Ohio tonight.
Okay.
On my way out to Virginia.
Okay. That's awesome. So you're back in God's country in the United States then. So that's that's good. All right. Very cool. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's been a while. So, Mark, we didn't chat very much this past week because you were in Dallas at the NRA annual meeting. Tell me about that, man. What was it like? What have you been up to?
It was good. I have a really good customer down in Comfort, Texas. So the first leg of the trip, I flew into San Antonio, and then took the short drive down to Comfort and spent a day with a pretty awesome facility down there. It's called Apache Rifle Works. So if you get on the web, definitely check them out. They are definitely up and coming in the precision bolt gun market.
Oh, cool.
They have an amazing Cerakote facility. They do a lot of like long range precision shooting stuff. They're an indoor range. They pretty awesome up and coming shop. They're doing some big things even nationally at this point.
So that facility, that large facility, that's retail operation. It's not like manufacturing, or is it both? Or?
Well, they're going to be doing both. Yeah.
Okay.
So retail, manufacturing, gunsmithing. They're an 07, an FFL, an SOT, indoor gun, Cerakote facility, like the whole nine. But it's Apache Rifle Works.
Oh, look at that. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Pretty cool koozie, huh?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the poor folks listening to this on the podcast, I feel like they're getting a slightly lesser experience. They're not getting to gaze upon our magnificence, but That's a pretty cool looking koozie. I mean, that's like all paracorded up and tactical and stuff. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I flew into San Antonio, spent a day with the guys down at Apache, and then we went back up to San Antonio because we had a flight the next morning to Dallas.
Yeah.
And that is when I got the first taste of how anti-gun much of Texas is.
Wait, what?
And, oh man, it did surprise me.
We're talking about the come and take it state, right? I mean, this is
So funny story. So our hotel was 1 block from the Alamo.
Yeah.
Which was a pretty cool thing to check off the list of things to see in life, you know.
Oh, awesome! So you went and saw it. That's cool.
Yep, stood right on the lawn. It was pretty cool. But we walked into our hotel, and there's a big, huge brass, like 2 foot by 4 foot sign, like carved up and then with black letters, basically, with their anti-gun policy, and it showed like a pin art Beretta 92 with the cross through sign on it saying no guns type of thing. And we were like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. And of course, I carry everywhere. So I'm like, whatever, it's a temporary domicile because I paid for the room. Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I get in the hotel and we're checking in. And of course, right behind the check-in counter is a huge antique come and take it flag. Huge. And I'm like, are you guys confused? And this little 20-something female check-in, attendant, she's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, you have a gun policy here to my right.
Right.
And then you come and take it sign right behind your head that's even bigger on the flag. Like,
oh, me.
So then she started, making her attempt at explaining to me why it made sense. And it was a fail.
That is so disappointing.
Maybe they don't mean it sarcastically, Mark. Maybe they actually want the government to come and take their guns.
Right.
It's an invitation. That is, I mean, you kind of expect that from, behind enemy lines in communist states like California or something.
I was not expecting this in Texas, know, and then it didn't stop there. That was just the first instance. And then there's this place down in San Antonio called the Riverwalk where you walk down along this river and it's kind of like, there's boats like dinner boats cruising up and down it, but they're cruising at like sidewalk level. So it's pretty neat, pretty interesting, very touristy. So we didn't hang out there long,
right?
But every single place we went into, there's huge signs, no guns. No
well,
guns.
I mean, is it no outside the waistband carry, no open carry, or is
actually open carry is accepted? Is what I was told. Okay. And the thing about it is, I was getting a lot of pushback in a couple different ways. People were saying, it's crap, don't have to listen to it. And then other people were saying, no, this is legit. You need to pay attention to these because this is a legit opportunity to pick yourself up a felony.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take that chance, I mean, golly.
I went into a place to have dinner, and there was a big sign up on the wall that said 51%. And then behind the 51%, the big bright red 51% was a bunch of fine print explaining what the law is and how you're going to get hemmed up if you're to break it. And the 51% basically entails to establishments that sell more than 51% alcohol.
Yeah, yeah. I started nodding because, I mean, I don't know if it's still that way, but my home state of Kentucky was that, anything that derived more than 51% of their revenue from the sale of alcohol is classified as a bar, and you couldn't have, your gun in there as a Kentucky concealed deadly weapons permit holder. The trick of that was, is Applebee's doing really well at the bar this month? What do their sales volumes look like? And they couldn't tell you, and it is so arbitrary. It just scared the hell out of me. So, a lot of things got crossed off my list. I'll say that there's probably some times that I walked past a sign that I never even saw, and that's an honest mistake. But I try really hard not to intentionally put myself somewhere where, like you said, you're gonna get hemmed up by the law if you get caught. It's just not worth it. So.
And like in this instance for me, I'm thinking Texas, I'm going to be good to go, and I carry my gun everywhere, so right. I just carried it, right? But I'm also not about to leave my gun in a hotel room. I won't do it.
I'm with you. That's a good way.
So I take that risk. But it's like every single joint we walked into was posted.
Yeah.
In San Antonio.
I don't know, Jordan. I've seen you say something funny about Texas before, comparing them to other states. So you want to go ahead and alienate all of Texas?
Sure. A lot of it's to kind of poke fun at some of our Texas friends, but
yeah.
No, to my understanding, I mean, they open carry of handguns was just legalized in Texas 2 years ago, year or two ago, something like that. And that's why there was actually so much pushback. I worked at Starbucks for a while. Imagine that. CZ fan and bearded and drinks Starbucks coffee. Yeah.
CZ
but there was actually a really interesting pushback because there were some open carry groups in Texas because they couldn't open carry handguns. They were open carrying rifles, and they were going into businesses and establishments that didn't have a policy against carrying, like Starbucks.
Yeah, that works.
And
well.
So they were actually trying to support those businesses. And in response, then there's all kinds of pressure from moms demand action, etc.
Right.
And so Howard Schultz came out and said, we respectfully request you leave your firearms at home. The policy didn't change. It was still, if you see someone coming into the store, you're not to engage, you're not to ask them to leave. Like if they're within their rights, we respect what the laws are in the state you're in.
Right.
They don't put those signs up. But then there's a huge backlash just with that statement that got pushed out there. And it, and again, I'm not at all one to get bogged down in open carry versus concealed carry. If I knew that I wasn't going to get pegged, with some sort of stereotype of the fat three-per sheepdog that, thinks that his Uncle Mike's holstered high point is somehow going to defend us from ISIS.
I almost made
I probably would open carry.
A minute ago. Yeah.
So, because it's more comfortable, it's a lot easier to draw, etc. But I don't want to enforce a negative stereotype, especially in cities.
Sure.
And so, Texas actually caused quite a bit of turmoil all across the nation. And there's calls for boycotts on both sides. There's people boycotting Starbucks because they didn't prohibit guns. People boycotting Starbucks because of what Howard Schultz said, even though the policy didn't change at all. It's just silly. But to my understanding, and of course I'm not a lawyer, currently there's proper signage that's required in Texas. So there's 30-06 or 30-06 signs and 30-07 signs. One's for concealed carry, one's for open carry, and there's all kinds of rules about how large it has to be and the wording, everything else. And violating those, I believe, used to be a Class A Class A misdemeanor, and is now just a Class C misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Unless you are asked to leave, then it becomes a Class A misdemeanor, and you could risk losing your firearms. And that 51% sign that Mark mentioned, that is a felony violation. So, sorry to get all technical and nerdy, but because I've been down to Texas a few times in Austin, which of course is very liberal. I wouldn't have expected San Antonio would be that bad, Mark. We described every business. But it's just, and I've experienced that, down like South Carolina doesn't recognize my home state Iowa's permits.
Yeah.
Of course, I had to drive through Illinois to get to where I am, but pretty much everywhere but California and, New England recognizes Iowa's permits. It's really just Minnesota and Illinois, which of course are, where a lot of my family resides. And then so many of the southern states, which brag about their gun culture, are extremely prohibitive where you can carry and the conditions. And I almost feel safer in a banned state than in some of the pro-gun states.
Well, at least
there's so many technicalities.
Yeah, you know where you stand, right? So
I'm not going to get ambushed.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't even know where I want to go now.
Funny thing is,
mentally, I don't know where I want to go. I mean, also I don't know where I would want to move now either. Texas, I don't know. That's disheartening, but whatever.
Once we got up to Dallas, we're good to go.
Yeah. Well, so
seemed to be fine everywhere.
Yeah, I want to ask some other questions, but before we get too far down into it, I don't know. It's a chance to catch up with you guys. So, any new guns or gear or any classes or anything like that lately?
I got a new flashlight. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, is that a Surefire, isn't it? Yeah.
It's the Surefire E2TMV Tactician.
Okay.
So it's pretty dang little.
In
comparison to, I don't know. All right, here's a.
What batteries is it? Is it the CR123s or whatever?
Yeah, or you can put that new double stick rechargeable one.
Okay.
The 18650s.
Yeah, this little guy's 800 lumens.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Good Lord. Yeah, that just side lit your whole face when you aimed it at the wall. So yeah, that's crazy.
So clip that's removable. Good little carry light. It's pretty awesome.
That would be awesome at a rave. Just, flash the light a lot.
Yeah.
I promise I won't do that again. Yeah. What about you?
I actually have another thing coming that I was hoping would be here for tonight. But
okay. Now I'm curious.
I have a Hudson H9 arriving tomorrow.
No way.
Nice.
That is awesome.
Very
Did you
nice.
get is it the steel one or the aluminum one?
Steel one. The aluminum one's not shipping yet.
Oh, yeah.
So
That is too
pretty
cool.
excited.
I've been looking at them. I really have. And I'm torn right now because I was just telling the wife that I'm thinking about selling a couple of the guns that I don't use very often at all, which is going against my motto of don't sell guns.
like
But-
that ugly one behind you.
No, man, that thing's don't be hating on my AK back there. Yeah, she didn't do anything. She's back there by herself. So, yeah, she's a perfectly good rifle, behaving, not doing anything illegal. So,
Hasn't killed anyone yet.
hasn't killed anybody yet. We got her on camera so we can watch her and see what she does. But no, I was thinking about picking up another MMP2O compact and having the slide sent off and have it milled, right? And thinking, hey, let's go red dot. Let's just get freaky with this thing. I'll be the first. And then as soon as I had committed that in my head, I got on Instagram and somebody was showing off. Look, and I was like, oh, you just did it, and it looks really good. And now I'm not the first, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I still want to go do it. But no, I mean the Hudson H9. I've been thinking about it because it looks really awesome, but the AK behind me actually. I'm thinking about doing an AK pistol, quote unquote pistol with a brace, as kind of a truck gun, or whatever, or, on the road traveling kind of thing. But I don't know. I'm torn. I really have been thinking about the the Century C39 V2 pistol. But if you say that, those numbers and letters in some circles, the AK snobs tell you about how it's going to explode and blow up and take off your arm and whatever else. And I've seen pictures where the trunnions crack, but I don't know. I've also seen that maybe Century had a bad run of trunnions and they fixed that. I would love to have a Krebs Custom or, something like that, or a Rifle Dynamics would just, I'd be doing backflips for either one of those two.
Milled Arsenal.
Yeah, but I don't have that kind of cash, and I remember when you were able to buy good quality AKs for under $800 all day long. And
I remember when Wassers were $300.
Yeah. It's weird. The whole industry's turned upside down. It's like we're living in bizarro land where you can buy quality ARs, to fill up your house, for under $1,000, and you can't get a good AK for that. And it's just. I don't know. I still have a fundamental issue with it, and I guess I'm just living behind the times. I need to face reality, but whatever.
That the AR's better?
The AR is better, I think. That's part of the reason why I like the idea of an AK as a truck gun or whatever, because if it gets banged around or, whatever, who cares, right? It's an AK. But I care if it's a $1,200, $1,500, whatever, $2,000 AK. I don't want it to get beaten up. Whatever. I'm just griping now. So, okay. Jordan, what about you, man? You got anything cool like a Hudson H9 coming in, or is it just Mark?
No, I don't have one of those coming in, but I did get to put my hands on one today. I actually, on my trip east, swung up a little bit out of my way and visited Copper Custom.
Oh, really? Cool.
Tim from Military Arms Channel's store. Yeah. Spent probably an hour and a half in there. They had quite a selection of pistols on the wall. It was really neat to see a lot of the guns that I've seen on the channel.
Yeah.
And see a lot of their Cerakote work displayed. But unfortunately, I was kind of there hoping to see, maybe a Definitive Arms built AK in the wild. But of course, they're backlog fulfilling, orders.
Yeah.
But I did hear that they're going to be releasing some Hungarian ones pretty soon and at a pretty good price point, David. So. I am a patron, so I was going to say I don't know about pistols, but they were pretty open to doing custom work or
very cool.
following fulfilling requests. So no, I actually was pretty impressed with the Hudson, just dry firing it, playing with it in the shop. I don't know that it's compelling enough to justify the price tag for me as a non FFL, just considering the number of other striker fired guns I have and how I kind of prefer my hammers most of the time. But no, it definitely fit my hands well. I know. Yeah. Poor Mark. Yeah. No, I wish I brought it in from the car for the guys that are watching the video, but I've just finished a little conversion on one of my CZs, single action only, and firing pin block delete on a CZ railed compact with a steel frame. So heavier than a PO1, manual safety, but that trigger is just so short and crisp, and it's going to make the striker boys cry out of jealousy. So I haven't had a chance to shoot it yet. I just got it all pieced back together last night. So I'm hoping to get a chance to fire it down in North Carolina with some of our friends next week.
Cool. Very cool.
So I did spend some time at the CZ booth.
Yeah.
Trying to find this elusive, amazing CZ trigger.
Yeah.
And I found it.
Did you?
Yeah.
What was it?
The Shadow 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those things are amazing.
It's crispy.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you a funny story about the Shadow 2. A guy that I know moved down here from New York. And, of course, he got out of New York, got to Tennessee, and was like, I want to buy a gun. So he went to the store, and I told him, hey, you probably want a Glock or something like that, at least for your first, because if you don't like it, you can sell that thing for probably every penny you got in it. And so he went in, and they saw him coming. They were like, what you really need is this Shadow 2. And, he showed me what he got. And I'm like, dude, you are totally not going to be able to take and carry that concealed easily. Because he looks like he's maybe 130 pounds soaking wet, And I thought, no, that's not going to work. But we went to the range with it. And it was stupid easy to just stack rounds on top of each other on the target at 50 feet. I mean, it was just easy. And man, it is a really cool gun. I've seen that CZ Custom is doing a CZ75 compact and tricking it out like the Shadow. And so now you've got something that is carryable and has all that cool stuff. So, and it's also like $2,000. So
that's actually essentially what I built, David. Mine still has the ugly hole for the firing pin retaining pin, but the difference is it doesn't have the fancy hammer or the Shadowline aluminum grips, which I don't really like anyhow, but it has a steel frame instead of aluminum, so it's a little heavier. And that's what I really love about my Shadow 2, is I think that having a little bit of extra weight, just helps balance the gun better. I just found that even though it's a heavy gun, like you said, it puts rounds in a tiny hole. It feels like cheating.
Yeah.
And also just transitioning from one target to another, I felt like having a heavier gun steadied my hand a little bit. There was more resistance to work against. So I was actually able, last 4th of July, I had quite a bit of range time with it, and I was actually quite a bit better with it than any of the guns I'd carried. And I did carry it for a couple months, but just got to be a little too heavy and not very practical.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Hey, Mark, I saw your message. You're gonna jump back in, so that's fine. Yeah, folks. Mark's having some issues. We were trying to trace down a feedback loop or something that was giving him some noise earlier. So if you're watching on YouTube, just bear with us for a minute, and we'll have Mark rejoin. If you're listening on the podcast, you actually will never hear this because I'll probably edit this part out. So. Yeah,
we've lost our eye candy now, David.
Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do. I mean, with him having shaved all that beard off, it's like having a totally new guest, a co-host. So, yeah, I don't know. I wonder.
You should have introduced him as Carl Pilkington.
I'm wondering how his son, the 3-month-old, I guess almost 3. I wonder how he reacted to that. I'm kind of thinking if I shaved mine off, my kids would freak out. They wouldn't know who I was. So, yeah.
Now I want to see comparison photos.
Yeah.
Just see if we can tell which is which. There we go.
Yeah, here he comes.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, is it? Yeah, we totally weren't talking about your beardless face while you were gone.
It doesn't matter. I was listening on YouTube.
Were you really? Dadgummit. Technology.
There's a delay. He's lying.
That's good bourbon. Don't make me spit that out while laughing. So, all right. Well, I guess let's go ahead and kick over into it. We're probably, I don't know, 20 minutes away from our first break. So I really did want to talk about the NRA show, the NRA annual meeting, NRAM in Dallas. And so, Mark, you got to attend in person. I was sad cat. I was like, sad Kermit, actually, plastered against the rainy window looking for. All right, we're back live. You bear with us just for a minute, folks. I had a very bad technical issue on my computer. It crashed, so technology is not my friend tonight. We'll get it back here in a second. I know Jordan's trying to get reconnected by audio. Double checking some things, and folks, we'll roll right back into this here in just a second. All right.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
All right.
Yeah, all right. That's just really weird.
Thanks for catching that, Mark.
No worries.
Yeah, I'll have to look and see if I can get that fixed.
I found it.
Did you? Okay. There's a way to change it. Good.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Yeah. Okay. Let me check something here, and then, folks, I apologize. You're witnessing the beauty of live television, because sometimes things just go terribly, terribly wrong. All right. Cool. Okay. Let me get back to my setup. I mean, when I say this thing crashed, I looked over and I had the Microsoft middle finger of death. I was like, why do I hate you so much? You can
AKA blue screen, or
yeah, well, it was the one that's got like the little frowny face, because it's Windows 10, and that seems a little bit more kind and gentle than the old blue screen of death that is just ugly and technical, which I prefer, because I don't want my computer laughing at me like that one was. So anyway, yeah. All right.
I love how Chrome's like, oh snap.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the happy little dinosaur, like, oh, you seem to have had a problem, but yeah, okay. All right. Well, I think that we're back live. If somebody, if you're listening on YouTube, and if you could just shoot us a quick chat message and say that you can hear us, then that'll be very helpful to us. And then we'll kick back into where we were.
Dun dun dun.
I know the suspense is killing me. I'm assuming that everything is all good to go, but
yeah, there's 5. We got watchers, so
yeah. I mean, it's always good to have an audience when you're miserable. Like, we've done. Man, Mark, we've done. Well, this is show 11, and we've not had it do this to us ever before. But I was already on the fence about whether or not I was going to replace this machine, since we're doing video streaming off of it now too, and so I think it signed its own death warrant now.
Good time to plug the Patreon, right?
Yeah. Russian collusion. Yeah, it is absolutely Russian collusion that happened. That's pretty funny. All right. Well, I know that we're getting audio here, and it looks like we're probably getting audio streaming out to the internets. So I'm going to roll forward as if we were, and we'll pretend like this never happened. So a nice little rewind sound effect would be good here. I'll find one maybe, or I'll just have
record scratch.
Yeah, some profanity. backward masked, profanity. All right. So anyway, before this thing completely hosed and made me angry and sad about things, we're going to talk about NRAM, the National Rifle Association meeting in Dallas. And so, Mark, you attended that in person, and you also attended it on purpose. I was sad. I got stuck here out of poor planning, and believe it or not, the wife has been looking to see if she could find lodging for Indianapolis next year. So we are totally not going to miss that. But anyway, looks like there were record numbers. The stat that I saw, and it looks like Dana Lash was the one that tweeted this out. She said that 87,000 people were in attendance in Dallas. So, man, what was the vibe down there? What did it feel like?
Day one was fantastic because day one was Friday. So you don't get that bonkers amount of people like happened on Saturday morning.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Day one of the show opening, me there for business, it's far less frustrating when you can just walk freely down the aisles and not have to worry about getting run into by the drag-along carts and people and their kids and guys with rifles on their shoulders. And,
right.
Like it was just a lot less chaos. It was still busy, super busy, but you could actually maneuver.
Okay.
So I got a lot of business done, the majority of my business done Friday. And then Saturday was just chaos. It was crazy. The lanes were packed, the aisles were full, the booths were hard to stop at for more than a few seconds because you felt bad for taking up their booth space.
Yeah.
But it was great. I mean, all in all, I like the show. I like the show, frankly, a little bit better than SHOT Show. It's not as big, but I like it a little bit better because I feel like it's like something about SHOT Show. It seems like everybody is just busier, right? So when you're trying to do business at NRAM, you're able to accomplish more. I am anyway.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it when it was in Nashville. It was busy. I remember we went on. I think we went on Friday, but I know for sure we went back on Saturday, and it was pretty crowded. But even despite the number of people in such close proximity, everybody was super polite. No, I don't remember anybody getting uptight about, hey, you're in my way, hey, I can't see this thing or whatever. It was super polite, and I'm going to chalk that up at least to a certain extent to just gun people in general are fairly nice. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. There's not a whole lot of nastiness there. So
no, I didn't pick up any nastiness anywhere. It's just chaos.
Yeah,
trying to get to places quickly and get their free hat and their free patch, their free swag, their rifle giveaway, but they got to be there present to win.
Oh yeah.
It's just a bit much at times.
Well, was there anything that everybody was buzzing about? It's not an election year, so that's not a thing. But there's a lot of really crappy news about guns in general still. So what were people?
I don't know that there was a hot item.
Okay.
Per se. There are some new things. The 365 is still pretty new.
The SIG, yeah.
Yeah. You can always tell that they're expecting popularity when you get to the booth and a quarter of their booth is one gun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just so there's enough for people to put hands on and not have to wait in line for one. But SIG actually came out with a new optic system, which is for precision shooting, long range stuff.
Oh, no kidding.
Pretty dang awesome. I would say I would crown it like the jewel of the show for me.
Really?
And
well, what was unique about it?
So you use the SIG rangefinder.
Okay.
And or your phone, and it Bluetooth connects to your optic. So your spotter uses the rangefinder, ranges the target, hits a button, it sends the data to the scope, and puts a red dot in your reticle where you need to hold.
You're kidding me. I think, is that...
And it's instant.
I know that Barrett had that, what was it called, the Boraz or something like that, Barrett Optical Range.
Which was like a $5,000
yeah.
option. And these are, I think, starting at $800.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is really cool. I guess, the purists would say that takes some of the art out of it, but, those same purists are probably driving modern cars and not riding to work on horseback either. So, yeah.
I think it's also a great way to learn.
Yeah, that's a
you
good
know
point.
What I mean? It's saying like, okay, if you do this, then you get this, and this is why.
Right.
So yes, I mean, I agree. It takes kind of the challenge and the sport and the fun out of it.
Meh.
But I think it's still pretty cool because you can crank right out to 800 meters and drill a target with your Ruger American 6.5 Creedmoor.
Right. Well, yeah, that's going to be really cool for military and law enforcement too, because those are two arenas where I don't give a rip about the art of it as long as the man behind or the woman behind the trigger is putting that round where it's supposed to be. So, yeah, that's really slick.
Huh, also sounds like a great date night option to me.
A date night option?
Well, maybe not at night, but yeah, I don't know. I there's something about the camaraderie there. Oh
yeah, sure.
Spent time hunting with family members,
right.
And especially for deer or even small game like squirrels, just having one person, looking through. Of course, you're not going to be using a holdover on squirrels. I'm not shooting them from a mile away with a 22 long rifle. Yeah. But my holdovers with that at 500 yards are going to be a little extreme. But no, it's something. It's a great way. You could even get your kids involved,
right?
With precision shooting.
Another part of it, though, I mean, you're taking the mathematical equations out of it. But you still need to hold that gun steady, and you still need to break that trigger, and you still need to have your breathing right and your stance proper. You know what I mean? There's still a lot to go to play, other than just you hold the crosshair on and you're done. Especially when you're shooting out that far.
Yeah,
I think that's great because it eliminates just about everything but the fundamentals. You know what I mean? Like if you know exactly where you need to be holding and you miss, that's on you.
What makes it more fun? If you take a new shooter to the range and they can actually hit something, they're more likely to come back and shoot again. If they're out there and they're not even getting on paper with their shots at distance, they're probably just like, this sucks. I'm done. Unless they're just really into it. So yeah, well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't even think I saw that on the internet. Nobody was talking about it. So.
It's called the BDX, Ballistic Data Exchange.
That's awesome.
So you can link your phone to it too, and it puts all the dope right into your phone so you can track it and learn where your rifle shoots at what ranges and so on and so forth, and it retains the data. Pretty awesome.
That is awesome. I actually need something like that for my 338 Lapua Savage, just because it's so expensive to sight in, and also, using it at any sort of range, unless you've got a camera set up,
right?
Having to walk down to your target after each shot, it's just a long, grueling, expensive process.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah. Well, I noticed that there were some pretty noteworthy celebrities on site too. So
just to go over this one more time, it says the Kilo, which is the entry-level rangefinder that this will work with, starts at $299, and the Sierra 3-box rifle scope starts at $599.
That's dirt cheap.
So, yeah,
that is really dirt cheap. They're gonna sell every one of those they can make. If that thing, well, if it does what it says it's designed to do and it does it reliably, they'll sell every one of them they make. That's cool. Yeah. All right. Well, so I was kind of flipping through. I saw that they had some pretty good celebrity appearances, which there's always a ton of celebrity shooters. The big names, the Michellex were there and so forth. But I think the one that there were 3 that I would have just knocked a crowd of people out my way to have gone and met. You had John Teagan, Chris Paranto, and Dave Benton. Tig, Tanto, and Boone from Benghazi, the 3 of the survivors of the Benghazi embassy attacks. They were
so first day, first handshake entering the show was with Tanto.
No doubt.
Yeah, so we talked to them for about a half an hour, and he's a super nice guy. I'd met him briefly before, I think NRA last year actually, but we talked to him, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes probably, and just such a great guy, super nice.
Yeah,
I'm just happy to meet you, happy to be there, happy to chat with you. Great guy.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've started following all these guys on social media, and it seems like they're super willing to engage with people. And you know, I haven't met them, any of them, but you know, you can just kind of see the vibe from these guys is just, they don't see themselves as celebrities the way that we do. They see themselves as lucky to be alive and just glad to have another day. And that is so cool to see people that have lived through such amazingly dire circumstances and have that sort of humility. You know, I guess it puts a lot of things in perspective, really. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
I did see your other big celebrity crush that you have, David.
Which one is that?
The Tim Kennedy. I did see him at the show.
I've got that note here too. I am so I feel I know now how people who care about musicians feel when their favorite musician or their favorite actor or whatever opens their mouth and says something ridiculously stupid, and you know, they're just like, oh my gosh, why did you say that? And I'm the same way. I don't know. Do we want to talk about that really? Because I mean, I've got so much.
That's a rabbit hole we could go down.
It is. I kind of want to do maybe an episode, maybe a supplemental episode at some point. Maybe I'll just open a mic and I'll rant and everybody can listen to it. But in a nutshell, I just wish he would let people finish their sentences when he's interviewing. I wish that he would have the humility to admit that he made a mistake in what he said and stop trying to explain it away. I listened to a podcast today with him and John Burke, and John did a fantastic job through the majority of the interview of trying to keep Tim on point and on subject and you know, really just pushing him to explain what he meant. And I heard that he, you know, his 19-year-olds shouldn't have AR-15s. Now he's recalibrating that to that particular 19-year-old in Parkland, Florida, shouldn't have had an AR-15. And I don't think anybody on the planet disagrees with that, right? But that's not what he freaking said. And so I don't know. I just wish he would stop.
He didn't just say it; he reinforced it in the interview as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's so disappointing.
Anyway,
I probably will open a mic at some point and do a supplemental and just kind of explain what I think there, because it's everything that I can do to hold it in and not just throw up my feelings about this. And not taking anything away from his service to the country, or you know, he's a phenomenal athlete. He's an apex predator, if you will. I'm glad that he's out there doing bad things to bad people, but we are diametrically opposed on what he and I believe the Second Amendment says. And there's this critical comma right in the middle of the Second Amendment that he seems to trip over. And anyway, I don't know. It's you know, I again, rabbit hole. I'm going to steer away from it. But yeah, so did you see him? Did you go shake his hand?
No.
Yeah. I mean,
he was moving very briskly through the crowd. I don't think he wanted to see many people either.
Well, no, I saw he did an interview with one of the ladies from Recoil magazine, I believe it was, and she sat down with him, and I watched the whole thing, and I just had my head in my hands during the whole interview, just shaking my head, no. Why are you saying that? No. And she did a good job of trying to, you know, hold him to task as well, and I'm so disappointed. I really am. But yeah, I think everybody is.
David, something we've discussed before on the podcast is just the importance of having the proper mindset, even more so than gear when it comes to carrying.
Yeah.
I think that could be a really interesting podcast episode, going over mindset of how do you engage culture, really on any topic, but specifically when talking about the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Because I listened to that same podcast you mentioned with John Burke, and that seemed to be the big dividing line. There seemed to be a disagreement over how we should engage with people that disagree with us.
Right. Right.
And I think that could be a really interesting. I think that's not only an interesting conversation, but a very necessary one right now.
Yeah.
So
and I'll briefly touch on what Tim had said about that. He was trying to get across the point that he's approaching those conversations with the anti-2A, the crowd, if you will, the same way that he approaches special operations functions in other countries where you're winning hearts and minds. And it felt a little bit like what he was saying was, I'm being disingenuous to them and telling them what they want to hear, and being, quote unquote anti-2A to them to pull them across to our side to make them 2A. And when he said, I was like, what? Wait. It's you remember
I'm going to lie to them so that they listen to me.
Right.
So that I get them to, drink the Kool-Aid later. And
right. Yeah. I mean,
and how are we supposed to believe that he's not doing the same thing on that podcast with our community?
The thing
with
that
the pro-Second Amendment.
The thing that I heard on the John Burke episode that really just made me nearly run my car off the road was, he said, I don't really care what the pro-2A people think. They're already pro-2A. I don't care if they support me or not. Who I'm going after are the anti. And I guess in principle, I see what he's saying, but if what's coming out of your mouth, especially if you have a podium, as he's a UFC fighter, a very accomplished UFC fighter. He's very prominent out there with Ranger Up and those guys. He's very popular in the military circles and military veterans. He's been on TV. He has a podium, right? He has something that, I hate to say it, but if you have that kind of podium, you need to treat that very carefully and make sure that you're not sticking your foot in your mouth, for the rest of us. And I don't know. I mean, I every time I listen to an interview, I go into it thinking, okay, maybe this is the one where he makes me understand. And by the time it's over with, I'm throwing stuff across the room and just like, gonna go march. Yeah, I mean, it makes me angry. I want to go, get my closest Ranger Up shirt and burn it. It's like,
because as soon as the interviewer was making a point, he would just get angry and swear.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, you're not helping the have the conversation.
Right.
Like, don't get angry. You said it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're just being held accountable, and you don't like it. Yeah. So you can backtrack and deflect and react however you want, but it happened and you said it. How dare you get upset when people are questioning it?
Right. John Burke made a fantastic contrast to that. He said, look, a few weeks ago or a few months ago, I was on the record of being against bump stocks. And he said, there was a gentleman from Wisconsin, I think it was, Jordan, because I think you corrected.
Yeah, he's actually running for Senate in Missouri.
In Missouri,
Peterson's
okay.
His name. Yep.
So it's not Wisconsin; it's Missouri. So I think John thought it was Wisconsin. That's why I was thinking that. But anyway, he said that he spoke with this guy, and this guy, sat down and had a very intelligent conversation with him, debated it, and brought him over to understand that John's philosophy about bump stocks was wrong. And he said, it changed my mind. And that's what he was trying to get Tim to do was, let's have the discussion. Let's have an intelligent debate. But I want to be honest and forthright and truthful and bring you over the right way, not coax you over with lies. And then you find out later I lied to you and you'd be like, okay, well, screw it. I mean, he lied to me, it's game on again. I hate the Second Amendment, or whatever. I mean, I'm so disappointed.
Yeah, sorry to get you down that rabbit hole.
No, it's fine.
I'm glad you brought up Austin Peterson because I actually listened to that interview right after the one with Tim Kennedy.
Yeah.
And there couldn't have been a clearer contrast in just what we're talking about, just the way that someone handles a topic.
Yeah, let me stop you there, and here's what I'm going to do because we are getting close to about the 45-minute mark. I'm gonna go ahead and let us fall over to an intermission. I'm going to use that time, folks, on YouTube. I'm going to use that time to check this system one more time and make sure that we're not going to tank again. But please hang out with us. We'll be back in just a moment. And then, guys, let's pick back up with you, Jordan, and that thought about Austin Peterson when you come back. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay, great. Folks, we'll be right back with you. Just stick with us, and we'll be back here in just a minute. Thanks. Okay, everybody, we're back. Thanks for sticking with us. Again, we're streaming live tonight on YouTube, and we've had a couple of technical difficulties, so use that opportunity there to just check everything, and it looks like it's fine. If it crashes again, God forbid, we'll be back. You stick around. We'll open up YouTube again and stream back as soon as I get this thing going. But I definitely have a laundry list of things I want to check on after we get done with this. So, Jordan, before we went to break, we were talking about the other interview that you had heard on the heels of the John Burke interview with Tim Kennedy with Austin Peterson, correct? So what were you going to say about that one, in contrast to the two?
Sure. I was just going to say that in contrast, where I don't think there could have been a clearer contrast, because Austin Peterson was very calm, collected, not using profanity, and he's running for Senate.
Yeah,
of course, but has somewhat of an image to maintain. But he's been consistent. I've actually been following him since before he ran for the Libertarian nomination for president last year, or 2 years ago now. So, but he did a very good job, and it wasn't just bump stocks. When the discussion he had with John Burke, it was actually on machine guns, on full auto as well, that he changed his mind. And the conversation was very, he was, again, calm, collected, and just asked questions and actually led John to think. And that's what I think. And I've been involved in politics for most of my adult life, and even as a young, as a teenager. And it's kind of that inception, right? Like planting an idea in someone's mind. That's what you have to do, is ask questions, not just come out. And I understand Tim Kennedy's, well, you can't just say shall not be infringed over, from my cold dead hands. Sure. You're not going to win anyone over with that. But you also won't win over anyone to your side, if you will, by lying and being disingenuous and using their buzzwords and just reinterpreting them to mean, well, the first form of gun control that I'd implement is, allowing suppressors because I like them. That just
I caught that in that interview too.
That's very I don't even know how that works. I understand what he was saying, but that doesn't seem to be consistent with the public interviews I've seen, like with Lance Armstrong. And so I just think that if you listen to those two shows, you hear one where someone's trying to educate, inform, and just and throw questions back, not always play defense, but play, I don't even want to say go on offense, but actually just seek to educate and inform, right? Because it's not about, well, let me tell you why you're wrong. I don't think any of us are going to win over a friend or family member through social media on topics like this, or certainly not on a public page. It's discussions that you have to have in person and say, well, so what's your concern with the AR-15? Why shouldn't 19-year-olds be allowed to have them? What was the purpose of the Second Amendment? Going through and just asking questions and getting people to think and reason through things themselves, and not mocking them for their ignorance. I don't want to get too buried or too bogged down. Don't have that much to offer. But
I tell you what I'd really like to do. I think that I'm picking up the same thing that you are, and I think Mark, we've talked about this too, that there's a show in this, and I think there's a whole episode that we could do, maybe about if I were going to frame the conversation, I would probably call it sometimes we're our own worst enemies. And I saw this last month with the pro-gun rallies that were done. I think it was like on April 14th, which was a Saturday. There was I forget what the name of the organization was. It was some alphabet soup acronym that they had. It was like NA something, National NACC. I don't know. It was weird, right? It kind of looked like if you double take, it's like, wait, is that NAACP? What, what? And then so you kind of look at it, and I forget what the name was, but they were doing this thing on a Saturday, and they did one in Nashville, Tennessee, like they did a lot of the other state capitals, and I knew what was going to happen, so I didn't even bother going. But a friend of mine did go, and he said I kept driving. I looked at as I passed by, I looked out the window of my car, and I saw the militia flags and the rebel flags and the camouflage and the guy with the AR-15 across his chest. He said I just kept going because instead of it being an outreach opportunity to try to educate and inform, and why would you do it on a Saturday anyway? Because the people that you want to talk to are the legislators, and they're not there on a Saturday, and they're probably not going to come out and talk to you anyway if you look like like the media wants us to look like, to damage the image of a responsible gun owner. He said, but I saw it and I thought, no, I'm just going to keep driving, and I think again, we tend to be our own worst enemies in the sense that we don't prepare for conversations and meet. There's a difference between meeting an anti-2A person where they're at and trying to make that conversation safe for them to engage in and not be threatening and not be overly animated and aggressive and be attentive listeners, active listeners, and being so polarizing with your demeanor and your appearance and your words that they just say, yep, you're exactly what I thought you would be, and then they don't even listen to you. So I would love to do a show on that and us just talk through it. And I can't think of two better guys to do that with than y'all. So hopefully we can do that soon.
Something did kind of happen at the show in that the end at the first day at the end, the word was there was going to be a bunch of protests.
Oh yeah. How'd it go?
We exited the facility and there's a huge lawn. And there was a protest. Well, I should say there was a protester.
Okay. One guy.
One guy.
Well, so
how was he
wearing
acting? Wearing a mask, not saying a word, just holding a sign. Don't even remember what the sign said. It was pretty ridiculous, whatever it was. But what I noticed was pretty neat is that the people were coming out of the meeting, and rather than like hollering at him or contesting him or anything, people were going up and having conversations with him.
Good.
Trying to understand why he's acting the way he is.
Good.
There was no hostility whatsoever. Some people went up and like took a selfie because he was wearing a goofy mask. But for the most part, it was extremely just like, this is exactly what we need to be portraying to this news crew here.
Right.
But of course that wasn't in the news.
Yeah, they won't air that. That's the thing that really frustrates me. Of course, we had just this past month we had another shooting in Nashville, Tennessee that made the media the news. It was the shooting at the Waffle House. And so that was terrible. And then not too long after that, we had another shooting at a local shopping mall. And that shooting was simply protagonist versus antagonist. Two actors in that. One person got shot. The guy who did the shooting, as soon as he shot the other guy and settled his beef the incorrect way, put his pistol down and said, "That's it. I don't want any other trouble." And so it was kind of like, one and done. Of course, everybody in the mall freaked out and ran like they should. In a shooting, you should try to get the heck out of there. I'm not saying freak out, but by all means, use your head and get the heck out of there. Until the police can control the situation and deal with the shooter. But the way the media spun that immediately was active shooter at mall. I mean, it was so hyped that at my company, which is about 5 or 6 miles away from there, an alert went out across everybody's computers. Active shooter at the Opry Mills Mall in Nashville. We're considering a lockdown, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Good protocol, especially if they're not sure if they've caught the shooter, but the media never came back and dialed that back and said, "Hey, look, one-on-one crime, nobody else was injured, et cetera." The news story first was 4 people were shot, 2 people were dead, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and then they never came back and recalibrated it except for like the next day where it was kind of like, just the Jedi mind trick. We never said that. That was never part of the news. Here's what really happened. And it was so crappy that you could see straight through the agenda. And the media is not going to show good news. They're always going to be ready to put the camera and the microphone in the face of somebody that wants to be crazy. So
good news doesn't sell.
Doesn't sell. Yeah. Okay. Well, we could go on that all night long. So, Mark, I guess back to the NRA. It has been a pretty bad year for gun owners, and the NRA has been crucified after the Stoneman Douglas shootings by the media, and the NRA has I think really strayed from their core values of defending the Second Amendment in its entirety and supported this bump stock ban. Have they lost their way? I mean, what were the people saying about that in the crowd, or were they not even really talking about it?
I heard no buzz of that whatsoever.
Interesting. Okay. What about the election? So the NRA Board of Directors election was a pretty big thing this year, and I'm a little torqued up about the way that went. But how was that going at the convention?
So Adam Kraut was the hopeful amongst
Yeah.
many of the industry people that I know, and I guess last year he lost by 60 votes. This year lost by, it was a small margin again.
Right.
But what's bonkers to me is the amount of people that voted in general.
Oh yeah.
It's a very small number.
Really?
Less than a tenth of who was there.
Oh well. I think that the deal that I take that back.
6,000 votes or something total.
Yeah, so my impression was that and I was wrong, and I'm wondering how many NRA members felt this way, and maybe they misunderstood it too. I believe I'm wrong. Let me just say that. I may not have been wrong. My impression initially was had you already done a vote through the mail-in ballot that you weren't going to vote again there. However, that seems to be incorrect. It seems like the voting at the meeting was a separate new entity strictly for that 76th seat. And so, even if you had already done a mail-in ballot, you could have voted again there to try to occupy the 76th seat. And that 76th seat is a one-year appointment, and it's kind of sort of in spirit was set up to be the seat for an outsider. This is not an NRA insider. This is somebody new, popular vote, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. And it went to a guy named, what was his name? Like
Herb Lanford.
Herb Lanford, yeah. And I really wanted to start a hashtag, who the hell's Herb? And, but, I did some research, and it's not that he's a bad guy, I don't guess. He's an elderly gentleman, but he was a former NRA president. And here he is occupying a one-year seat that was really kind of sort of meant for an outsider, which would have been perfect for Adam. I mean, I don't know. I'm very disenchanted right now with the NRA because of this crap. They did get some new people on. They got Carrie Lightfoot. She's the owner of the Well Armed Woman. They're a retail store as well. She's got a very well-respected, good blog and podcast. Dwayne Liptek from Magpul, vice president. He got on this year, and Julie Golub, world champion shooter affiliated with Smith & Wesson, she got in. So those were really good, and I've got some hope there. But, man, we needed Adam on there, I think. It really ticks me off the way the whole thing went. And it's easy for me to say, oh, there was collusion or, it was rigged or whatever, but maybe that's just me being bitter. I don't know.
It was the Russians.
It was the Russians. Yeah. Well,
that's probably not a rabbit hole you want to take me down, because it's, again, there's nothing we can really do but speculate.
Right.
And I think there honestly is something to the fact that there are a lot of people who are myself included, the past several years, that have just been felt so disenfranchised by the NRA that they either canceled or just didn't renew their memberships.
Yeah. People
that otherwise could have been or would have or were voting members eligible to vote. But it's frustrating when there's doubts like this, when there's allegations of or just suspicions in people's minds of dirty backdoor dealings designed to prevent any outsiders from getting in and shaking the NRA up like happened in the 70s. Mm-hmm. And then the elections aren't independently verified.
Right. I think, the thing that I'm really worried, or not worried, the thing that I'm upset about, I'm not worried about it because I know that it seems to be a thing. I'm upset about it is that the NRA doesn't really seem to represent my interests as a middle-aged American armed citizen shooter who enjoys black rifles and, tactical type stuff and whatever. They're really kind of living up to that the FUD nomenclature, the Elmer Fudd brown rifle shooter, of saying, oh well, hey, look, let's adopt policies of appeasement. If the government wants something, we'll sacrifice bump stocks, we'll sacrifice high capacity magazines or whatever. And I think the newer, younger blood like Adam and Julie and Dwayne and those, I think that they have a chance of maybe turning that tide back in favor of what I would consider to be the true spirit of the Second Amendment, shall not be infringed. It just remains to be seen if the remainder of the board lets them do it. I've seen the same emails that everybody else has seen. Marion Hammer, one of the predominant figures in the NRA board, sent out an email leading up to the elections talking about the enemy within, and I loved it, man. Adam embraced that and started doing name tags. I am the enemy within, and she was talking about the people that are trying to disrupt and get away from the traditional NRA values. And I'm like, yes, that's what we want. We want you to get away from that because it's crap. And anyway, I'm ranting, so I'll stop.
Did you see the patch that Adam had made?
No, what was it?
It's like the little Grateful Dead bear.
Oh yeah,
in tie-dye doing that little dance that the Grateful Dead bear does.
Yeah.
The patch was in tie-dye and the bear was holding an AK.
Yeah. And did not see that. No.
I missed that too.
I did see that the dudes up at the Gun Collective did a short video or an animated GIF of it was like Eric Cartman wearing the Bane mask from Batman, holding a gun to I don't know, like Officer Barbrady or something, and Adam Kraut's face was in the window of the car, and he was telling him that Cartman was telling them that that they had not respected his authority or whatever, and it was comical, and I thought, that soothes the burn a little bit, and good for you guys to have a good sense of humor about it, and the intensity and the fire within to come back at it again next year. But man, it was so disappointing. This is like a disappointing episode. I'm disappointed in Tim Kennedy, and I'm disappointed in the NRA. I'm disappointed in my computer and technology right now. I need something to believe in.
Here's something, Mark. I don't know how involved you are or familiar you are with these two individuals, but something that was a big surprise to me was hearing about Pete Brownell stepping down as president.
He did.
Is there any buzz about that at the show? Or I can't remember if that happened during or just after the show.
I heard about it briefly, but it was only very brief. There really isn't a lot of conversation about the politics side of it within the show that I pick up. Mm-hmm. I am much more involved in the ground level guns and gear and what's happening industry wise rather than political wise.
Yeah,
sure.
Maybe that's just my circle, but I just wasn't hearing about the other stuff.
You seem a lot less stressed than I am, though. Look at you, Mark. I mean, you not caring about that, not getting wrapped up in it. Yeah, I mean, you look a lot less stressed than I am. So maybe I should take note.
Yeah, I'm not triggered at all. I was excited to see my buddies and learn about new products and that kind of thing. We should talk about some of that stuff.
I tell you
that'd
what,
probably
man.
pick us back up.
Yeah, if we get to go together next year, I'll put a shot collar on my ankle or something and give you the remote. And if I start going off on a tangent or a rant, you can just like zap me, So
I suppose it would look pretty funny if it was on your neck, huh?
It would look. Yeah, I mean, yeah. That could cause stories, rumors. Well, do we want to talk about some of the new gear that the media was talking about on the heels of NRAM?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always kind of skeptical on any sort of media because I kind of feel like oftentimes it seems a little bit biased to me. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think that was that cool. Why are you writing 2 pages about it?
Right.
But I definitely did see some cool stuff. What kind of stuff did you hear about, actually, as an outsider looking in?
Like you, I didn't see anything that just was, oh, wow, I can't live without that. Surefire released the new XH30. It's their 1,000 lumen weapon light. That was cool. I think the one that made me yawn the most was Trigicon's MRO with a green dot instead of a red dot. I thought I wouldn't have even released that as a product bulletin. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, we got a green one. I don't know. Was it like a slow year for new products or what?
I'm not sure. It seems like it because there's always like big launches, and that's one of the cool things because you get to be the first one with hands on the Hudson or hands on the the new product, and that's one of the cooler things about going to the shows.
Yeah,
fiddle with these things, but I just really didn't see a lot of it. Like the SIG optic was awesome.
Yeah,
Polymer 80 launched 2 new frames, which is fantastic. They launched the Glock 26 sized 80% Glock lower. They also launched their model number is PF940CL, and CL is compact long. So it's a 19 grip and a 17 length.
Oh, that's genius.
AKA what the 19X should have been.
Right. That is genius. That's awesome.
Yep.
I want one.
So
I haven't even seen
hands on those. I got hands on those. I got both of them on the way because we're a holster maker. We have to have the prototypes. So
yeah.
So it's pretty cool that I'm good friends with that whole crew at Polymer 80. They're great people, as I've said before. But yeah, and then 45 10 mils in the pipeline.
Okay. Well, yeah, and you mentioned 10 mil. That was probably the product that I saw that I was both elated and angry about. I was conflicted. Springfield Armory released the 10 mil TRP with a Trigicon RMR on it, and I thought, yes, it's awesome. Wait, I just bought one without an RMR. And I was like, why did you do this to me?
But that wasn't my frustration point on that. Like, that hit a huge hot button for me because if you look at the pictures and look at the rail.
Yeah. There's no rail.
It's all squared off. They just didn't mill out the slots.
Oh, what? I'm looking at the picture now. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Was this made on a Friday? Doing? What did they do? That's weird.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that until just now.
No,
I got there. I got there and I made the comment because the first day of the show was Friday, and that was also when the release was that Springfield Armory is no longer going to sell on Dick's Sporting Goods.
Oh yeah.
So the first news thing I saw that morning, gun related, was Springfield Armory cuts off Dick's.
Best headline in the year so far.
So
yes.
I get to the Springfield booth, and the first thing we said is Springfield Armory cuts off Dick's to one of the Springfield guys, and got a laugh or two. And I'm like, and B, where the hell is the rail on this gun?
Right. Where is the rail? This is stupid. I mean,
why is it not milled?
It's everything that you'd want a modern 1911 to be. It's the 10 millimeter is the best millimeter. It's got an RMR. It has suppressor height sights. It actually has a better front checkering than the one that I've got does on the front strap. And then they took the rail off, so you can't possibly put a light on there, because what idiot would want a light on a fighting pistol except for everybody?
This is one of those instances where I think that the manufacturers are just screwing the consumer.
Yeah.
I feel like when they do this, they're like, this is really dang cool, so a bunch of people are going to buy it. But then 6 months from now, we're going to make it even cooler and sell a bunch again.
Yeah, put a rail on it.
And I feel like that's what this is, because there's no other reason for it.
I tell you what they've done. They filled in the rail on this with all the extra metal they had laying around from where they pissed off customers a while back and didn't sell guns. So that's what that is. They had extra metal that they had to use. That's the only explanation for this. Springfield,
David,
what are you doing?
I was going to make the comment earlier that as soon as you buy your second M&P 2.0 and send it off to have the slide milled, the next day they're going to release a optics ready version.
I'm okay with that, because for whatever reason they continue to do the and you're right, that is my luck, but I'm ignoring that. They'll release it with the adapter plates, which makes the sight sit higher than it should, and it'll be goofy, and I think it's still better just to send it off to somebody and have it milled. But I saw that who is it that let me scroll through my notes real quick. Faxon Firearms released some M&P slides, so those look pretty cool.
And barrels too, if I remember correctly.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Well, these look neat. I hope that they do something that is, for the 2.0 compact size, because that's it right there. I don't have to go get on a giant wait list and, spend all that money to have one milled. I can just go buy one that is. So, yeah, that's really cool. I'm looking at this 10 mil Springfield now still on the screen and wondering, where's the rail? Why? This is almost as perplexing to me as the M&P 2.0 compact
3.6.
The 3.6. Oh, hey, but wait, we made one where the grip is exactly the same length as the slide, so that you can, I don't know, throw it like a boomerang. I don't understand why they did that. It makes no sense to me. Yeah.
Another cool thing, Battle Arms development.
Yeah.
For one, their guys have really cool business cards.
Is that thing metal?
Yeah.
That is really neat looking.
Yeah, that's their business card.
I'll put a picture of that on the first part of the video to cover up Jordan's phone number that we were showing the internet.
I feel like it's going to be inscribed on bathroom walls.
Some company.
For a good time, call.
Yeah, you're totally getting some pictures that you didn't expect to get. So you might want to change
Nothing
that phone
I haven't
number.
seen before.
Yeah.
For all the podcast groupies, right?
Right. Oh, me. No, that is a really cool business card.
So they have a cool business card, but they're also announced they're launching some Glock barrels. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
And they also have a fully functional 4-pound non-polymer AR-15.
Wow.
How did they manage that? No idea. Yeah.
Magic.
I mean, are they using carbon fiber anywhere, or what are they doing?
It seemed like metals.
No kidding.
I didn't see any carbon fiber anywhere. There was lots of skeletonizing, obviously. Yeah. A very pencil barrel.
Right.
So I don't know what your accuracy is going to be like, but I'm always the guy that's, they're all more accurate than you are. That's my
thing.
But had some great conversations with those guys. Cool stuff coming. They've been around for a long time.
Yeah, they have.
They're not, one of these fly into the industry, companies. They've been around 10 years.
It's interesting to see folks releasing new ARs because, the last year after Trump was elected, the AR market just went in the toilet and you couldn't give them away. And so there had been pundits in the industry saying that, you know, at the race to the bottom, nobody wins. So you need to distinguish yourself and have something cool that's innovative and it's at the top end of the market. So that sounds really slick. Is it aimed more for like 3-gun competitors, or what's it designed for?
It looked like more of a tactical rifle, range rifle, CQB rifle.
Awesome. It's probably better than that AK sitting back there behind me. So
pretty much any rifle is better than an AK.
I'm so sad. They don't mean it. I have to reassure my rifle they don't mean it. So all right. but we do.
Yeah, I'm just kind of. I've got a stack of business cards here, so I'm going through remembering some of these awesome companies. This one right here, Amend 2.
Okay, they're magazines.
Yeah.
Okay,
and they're awesome. I'm gonna get a bunch, and I'm gonna run the snot out of them, and I'm crossing my fingers that they work good because they were really great to talk to.
Yeah,
the magazine seems on point, but it's one of those things like it can seem like gravy, but if it doesn't run, it doesn't run. But all of their polymers are like infused with some sort of like a lubricant of some sort. I mean, I forget.
Yeah.
Not Teflon, but something to make everything slick and smooth. But they also have anti-rock, anti-rotation followers.
Oh,
they
cool.
Don't tip. Like, so you push on the front, the back goes down too.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't tip.
Super cool company. I'm really, really looking forward to getting some of the mags. Amend 2.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go Google them after this and then see what they've got. I've heard the name before, and I thought I remembered them being mags, but that's pretty slick, especially if they've got something that's self lubricating, slamming that thing in and out of the mag well. So yeah.
Mark, I had a question for you. Were the guys from Strike Industries at NRAM?
Strike took this year off.
Okay. I saw they officially announced that they're approved for production on the PDW brace. I actually took my stock into Copper Custom and was showing the guys there. They hadn't heard of it yet, and they were all pretty impressed by that. I was like, well, I don't know how you missed that. They had a whole bunch of SBA3s and SB-PDWs in the store.
They hadn't heard about the Strike?
No. Yeah, they didn't. Chase and can't remember the several other guys I talked to. I was like, yeah, I said this is a stock and there's a brace version that's supposed to be coming out shortly, but I'm sure it'll be unobtainium for a while. But by the way, I want one.
I'm friends with the guys at Strike, and I happen to notice he posted a picture promoting his. It's called a T-Rex, I think. T-Rex, something like that.
I think that's right.
An RMR cage type of thing, so you can put RMRs on long guns without them getting smacked around, type of thing. And I saw the video, and I was like, "What's that stock?" Like, I have a PDW. What's the Vipers? That's what it's called, right, Jordan?
Mm-hmm.
The Viper, Viper PDW. I was like, but that one looks different. And I make a comment, and this is on the owner's personal Facebook page. Make a comment. I was like, "Is that a stabilizer?" And he's like, "Coming soon." I'm like, "Yes," because their PDW is the only one you push a button and it shoots out. Right? All the other ones is a two-handed operation. You got to push the button and pull it out. And this one, you just push the button and blast out.
Huh. Speaking of...
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was talking stocks, and there was another Deadfoot Arms.
Not familiar with them. What do they have?
So they have a folder. So they're a folding stock company.
Okay.
And folding brace company. And they... their folder works. Your gun will function folded.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
So, like the Law Tactical says, do not fire one-handed because the gases blow out the back of the gun, essentially, and you'd get a single shot. Obviously, it's not going to cycle.
Right.
But the Deadfoot is a fully cyclable side folder on an AR.
What are they doing for the buffer? Any?
So you're replacing your whole bolt carrier group with a shorter bolt carrier group with a weight built into it. And
okay.
A smaller spring and a smaller buffer.
Okay.
But they also are releasing this stock. I'm not going to remember the name, but I want to say it's like called Rip It or something like that. And basically you pick what point your sweet spot is for your 6-position adjustable stock.
Right.
And you set this pin on your buffer tube.
Oh, that's genius.
And the buffer tube is more of a ratchet than a hole. So you don't just select your selector. So you have your stock collapsed. You get out of the vehicle, you just grab it and pull.
Yeah.
And it's locked right to your sweet spot.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is sweet.
It's a $30 buffer tube.
Well,
wow.
Hey, it's worth that. Yeah.
On any stock. I'm like, my LBT buffer tubes are $30. You know,
Right.
like, it's awesome.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. They should probably raise the price on that after I buy one.
Right. And then, of course, Angst Arms. Can't say enough about Angstead. They are pistol caliber carbines. I've got mine. Mine was in the last video. Was it suppressed in the last video?
It was not. I don't think you had the suppressor on it last time.
You were waiting on it.
So the suppressor came in.
Yeah.
Took it to the range. Puncture tested it. It failed miserably.
What? Really?
Yep. Absolutely. Because apparently, you would think I'd know this, but there's a difference between an AR-15 and an AR-9 trigger group.
Okay.
And I put an AR-15 trigger group into my AR-9, so I was getting like pap, fail. Like, and it was almost like a light primer, and then I'd find the round, and it was no primer touch at all. And then I found out that there is such a thing as a AR-9 specific aftermarket trigger group from Elfman Tactical. And
so was the hammer just not fully cocking on certain cycles, or?
Right, it wasn't resetting properly, okay. So it was pushing back and then following the bolt home, rather than the bolt going home and then it hitting. It was riding it home.
Oh, okay.
So now that I have the correct trigger group in it, I take it to the range and 9mm pistol caliber, 16-inch carbine with a stabilizer brace, not shoulder, of course.
Right. Oh well, the NFA says. I mean, the ATF says you can do that now. So yeah, it's cool.
I don't fuss with these gray areas. I just don't shoulder it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a blast.
I shoulder the heck
9mm suppressed. It's just fun, and that's not even subsonic. I was just shooting 115, so kick it up to some subsonic 9s, and
I'll bet that thing's sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun, and I put the 3-lug adapter on the suppressor.
Yeah.
So you push down, rotate like 25 degrees or whatever it is, and then pops right off, and then it's got the law.
Hey, you went mute there, Mark. Tonight is the night for technical difficulties.
I don't know what just happened. I don't know where I went mute, but
you were saying that you put it on, twist it, pop it off, and then
I flip the side folder for the Law Tactical,
okay.
And then it collapses down to about 11 inches at that point and slides right in my Vertex bag.
That's awesome. That thing is so quiet it muted you. That's the story that we're gonna tell everybody.
Oh, other good news. So all my suppressors are Griffin armament.
Yeah.
So I stopped by the Griffin booth.
Yeah.
And they have this really cool gray shirt with just this red bar and in white writing. It says suppressed. I had to get one of those.
Yeah.
And then I wore it through all the airports on the way home.
Fun. Yeah. I did see somebody with a with the TSA pat down shirt. Looked like the. I'm not gonna say it. Never mind. Just Google it. You folks know probably what I'm talking about. It's not bad if it's the TSA or something. So
I think we're all supposed to say Takei, David.
That's right. It's not Takei if it's the TSA. So
that's right.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna get hate mail. That's all right. I'm already angry. I'm angry at my computer, so we can be angry about other things. Okay.
One other thing, I don't know if you saw, Mark, and it's not really something you'd be interested in, but some viewers may be. I saw that CZ has released a second generation of Scorpion mags, which I've seen quite a few close-up shots. I don't know if you took a look at those when you're at the CZ USA booth or not. but they're not clear. That the first generation mags, some people had issues with broken feed lips from leaving them loaded for extended periods of time. I should say cracked feed lips. I have 6 of the Gen 1 mags, and then I have some aftermarket ones as well. I haven't experienced any cracked feed lips on mine, but again, I haven't been shooting through them a dramatic amount. I also don't slam my magazines in like a teenager on prom night, but
wait, what?
Which I'm guessing what? Never mind.
Yeah, those teenagers on prom night and their CZ Scorpions.
I'm just guessing that that's partially to blame for some of what I've seen, but the second gen mags look far more robust. And did you have a chance to take a look at those, Mark?
You're muted again.
I think you're muted again.
Yeah, that suppressor, Mark, it is completely suppressing. It's so quiet it sucks the sound out of your room.
I don't know what's happening.
It's a Griffin Armament microphone.
I did not know about it. I did not know that there was a problem, and I did not see them.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what deity we've ticked off tonight to like computer problems and phantom muting going on. And
so I've been doing this new thing where I always stay muted and you press the space bar to temporarily unmute.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it just stopped working.
Huh. I don't know.
I must be the Jonah. You should just throw me off the podcast.
Actually, yeah, you're pointing that out, and I'm thinking the common denominator, the one thing that's unusual tonight is that Jordan's here with us. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you're muted again, Mark. I mean, I'm just saying that in case you don't know that you are, but I'm watching the screen now like a hawk.
It's all the CZ talk.
It is the CZ talk. Yeah. Yeah. Well, talking about PDWs, I saw that B&T Arms has that USW chassis for the SIG P320, which looks like the only acceptable reason to buy a SIG P320 now. So, pretty slick. I'm anxious to see it. It says that it's. I'm reading their press release. Similar in concept to B&T's. Oh, actually, this isn't their press release. I'll take that back. This is Recoil Web had said this. They said similar in concept to B&T's interesting universal service weapon, which was really slick. This thing, it's a USW chassis that accepts a SIG P320 fire control group and slide. And that they've even, because obviously it's going to be an NFA item, you'll have to do a ATF 5320.1 Form 1 application to make it an NFA item, pay your $200, wait for the government to say that, yes, peasant, you may own this thing, and then you can put the stock on it. But until then, you can just pop the stock off and shoot it like a pistol, which is pretty amazing. So anyway, it's neat.
Well, I'm sure that with this module, they already have that USW A1, I believe, is a civilian legal, which is it's essentially a Sphinx SDP.
Yeah.
It's B&T produced, but they bought out the rights from Sphinx to the design.
Yeah.
But anyhow, there's already tailhook adapters. There's already aftermarket brace adapters. And like I have a tailhook adapter for my CZ Scorpion.
Oh yeah.
So you can already. I'm pretty sure Tim from Military Arms Channel has already done a video on that because he got it one of the new TP9 ends, one of the B&T TP9, not Canik TP9, B&T TP9 ends, and put a little folding brace on there, and it actually works. Like I almost think I would prefer it to the factory stock in terms of how it locks into place and the functionality of it. So I don't see any reason why the latch would be any different for the SIG P320 module than it is on the USW A1. So I would assume that should be available as soon as those come to market.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I'd like to get my hands on one at some point. I kind of jokingly said it's the only reason I own a SIG 320. I had one, and there's nothing wrong with the gun, especially after SIG fixed the fact that you could drop them and shoot yourself in the leg. But it didn't work for me. I don't know. It was just not a gun that the grip angle and everything else was just wrong. I've shot Glocks and M&Ps for far too long. The grip angle was just weird. So anyway.
I found the triggers to just be weird.
They are.
They're just weird. they're just a little crunchy. They're not quite crisp. They don't snap. They just kind of break, and then But you can put the Apex Flatty in there, and that makes it feel flat, and it's a little bit better, but it still kind of feels the same. And then like some of them have like a double click to the brake, like it breaks twice, which is kind of strange. And then oddly enough, I get to the 365. It's like, okay, here's all the rant and the rave. I grab it, and it's the same freaking trigger.
No kidding. Yeah. That's disappointing. I did put an Apex trigger in my 320, and you talk about something that will make you learn or create new curse words. The spring, the return spring, and the trigger bar on that thing was, it was, somewhere in the depths of hell there are people condemned to eternity to put those trigger springs on trigger bars for 320s. It was miserable. There was actually a guy that said the safe way to do it was to cover your head. Take the gun or the fire control unit and cover your head and everything with a blanket. And then that way, when it goes rocketing off, you don't have to go find the spring. It just hit you in the eye or something. And I'm telling you, I can only have that happen one more time, and then I'm out of the game. So, video can you can appreciate that laugh. It's okay, I laugh. So.
And you trust an AK?
Well, hey man, that thing's sitting back there minding its own business. Well. What's in store for you guys in the week ahead? Any shooting or any classes coming up or anything like that?
Jordan, let you go first, Mark.
Okay.
Well, my Hudson arrives tomorrow, so I definitely have to make a trip to the range and rattle off a couple boxes of that flat shooting hunk of steel and decide whether it's a keeper or a mover.
Are you open to the idea that thing's gonna be so good that you're gonna carry it and not the Glock?
Oh no, I won't carry it.
Really? Okay.
Nope, won't do it. It's not proven.
Okay, but you guys will be able to make holsters for it now, so that's good. That's a plus.
Yep. And I've got molds for it. It's just one of those things. Like it's one of those instances where it's like you have the molds. It's like, well, cross your fingers, send this one out, hope it fits.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm glued to the RMR as far as a carry gun. And getting an RMR, Hudson RMR to this point, I know there's companies out there doing it. I just don't know them. So there's that part of it, but it's also really heavy. And it's 15 rounds versus 17. And I know a Glock like the back of my hand.
Sure.
I don't know that I'll ever switch again.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm anxious to hear how you like that thing when you're done running it. It looks cool. No doubt about it.
And a big part of it is just it's for once somebody did something really innovative.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, did Arsenal show up with that Strike B? Did they have that?
Yeah.
I did not see it.
Okay.
I'm not saying it wasn't there. I just didn't see it, and I'll tell you, I got many miles in that show.
Sure.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like we walked around like Griffin Industries is supposed to be here somewhere, and we walked around and around and around. We couldn't find it. And of course, it was on like an end cap, and we had walked by it like 6 times. Just one of those things. There's just so much eye candy. You just kind of get lost in the sauce every once in a while. But I didn't see Arsenal.
Right. Okay.
Well, they're now branded as Archon, ARCHON.
I can't keep track
Archon
of it.
Firearms.
It's been back and forth a couple times. So yeah.
Well. Yeah, they've been through a rebranding and then they changed, so that's what's delayed production. I think we talked about that one-on-one earlier a little bit, David.
Yeah.
But
I just couldn't remember which way they were.
They had the Strike B in production and then went through the rebranding to Archon instead of Arsenal, and so then that pretty much wiped out all of their production. And so then they had to, and then they renamed the model the Type B instead of the Strike B.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it just kind of feels like a piece of vaporware at this project, at this part of the process. At this point, and I don't know. It's a really intriguing gun. It reminds me a little bit of the Kalashnikov handgun, was that PL-14, that we saw pictures of a few years ago. And I would really love to get my hands on one of those just to, just something so different. But yeah, if this thing never comes to market, and people get frustrated with the release of new CZs because it seems like they're announced years or, a year before they ever come to market. And a lot of that's just, it's a small company,
sure,
and their main priority is focusing on military and defense contracts. And we're just lucky that civilians get as much as we do in the U.S.
Yep.
But for a company to be launching a product and then rebranding themselves and then a new product, it's like the hype is all going to be dead for this thing by the time
and that can't
it's
be
finally available.
Well, I mean, that can't be cost effective, right? And
no.
I remember when CZ went through this with the P10C, it seemed like, hurry up and wait. And then when it came out, I was not as impressed with it as I had hoped I was going to be. And one of the biggest promises they had there was it was going to fit all Glock 19 holsters, and just didn't. So,
no.
Yeah, maybe you're
and that's a lot of, a lot of that was spread, because that's not what CZ said, but a lot of people picked that up and ran with it. They kind of had a thinly veiled, like, this is going to, will fit many common duty holsters. And
right.
the way it was announced in their magazine was, it was like, yeah, this is our Glock 19, improved Glock 19. Like, they made it very clear, but the problem is they attracted a lot of striker fired, like they got into a whole new market with tons of demand, right? Every social media influencer has to have the new striker fired hotness, right?
You sound like Tim Kennedy right now, explaining away.
No, and I mean, like, hey, I'm a person that loves to buy every new gun on the market, but the problem is for a company that, a couple shipments come to our shores a year, for them to be all of a sudden getting all these firearm of the year awards and whatnot, there's no way that they're going to be able to keep up with demand on that. So I think they were kind of, whether they did it themselves, it's not even really so much them, the parent company. I think CZ USA has just done a really bad job in terms of creating so much hype when there's no possible way that you're just setting yourself up for failure or disappointment. So I still love mine, still carry it, haven't had issues, and it's an early model. But, I don't see why there's so many other, again, striker fired guns. To me, they just don't have the same character. But there's so many companies making perfectly acceptable, reliable, accurate guns.
Yeah.
And I'm just laughing. It's like, what? Just go with your flavor.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It really doesn't matter. Something that's kind of interesting, I was thinking about this as Mark was talking, like, for all of the differences that Mark and I have in our preferences, I don't understand why there's such an attraction to the compact size. And maybe it's just because we're both bigger guys, but I really don't enjoy a compact grip. Like, I've got an extended magazine in my P10C right now, just for a little bit extra.
I don't know. What size glove do you wear? I'm a size medium on a glove, so I'm a bigger guy, but I've got medium hands. So
I usually wear long gloves just because I've got larger palms.
Are you talking about the kind that come up to your elbows, like the 1930s
blue
ballroom
ones,
gloves? Yeah, right. Yeah, I totally figured that, but yeah.
So no, it's just something that and I don't know. I just don't get excited over, like, that's what we saw that last year. There was so much innovation, so many new products that came out at SHOT Show and NRAM, felt like. And then this year it's just like, hey, look, here's the gun we were making, and now the barrel's shorter.
Or your red dot is now green, and by the way, it has 1 year battery life instead of 5 because green.
And now it's in 380 instead of 9mm. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Smith & Wesson. Like, we all wanted a grip safety. Why don't you just give us a Commander 1911?
That gun's cool. I'll say that the 380 EZ or whatever they're calling it, it's got a place. I kind of like it, but anyway. Right. Well, we're kind of butting up against the end of the thing. My shooting range locally opens up this week or weekend. They're always off the full first weekend of the month, so I'm chomping at the bit to go out and shoot. And as far as classes go, at the end of this month, I'm taking a hemorrhage arrest course by Dr. Sherman House locally, and it's just if I were going to paraphrase it, it's a stop the bleeding kind of class. It's tourniquet, it's wound packing, it's stuff like that, which for somebody that goes to the shooting range seems pretty important to know how to do. So that'll be one of my first forays into actually going and getting good medical training from somebody who knows what they're doing, and so I'm anxious to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll let you know how it goes. We'll talk about that more. I think Sherman actually said he'd be willing to come on the show and talk to us about that stuff. So I'm excited about that too. Well, I guess if you're still with us on YouTube, thank you for doing that tonight. Apologies for the technical difficulties. Murphy's got his laws, and they must be adhered to. So he just bit us tonight. Thank you for your patience. Mark, where can folks connect with you after the show? You're muted again. Your suppressor muted you.
You can always email info@squaredawaycustoms.com, or you can just go to the website, which is squaredawaycustoms.com. But email is always the best way to reach me directly. And awesome. I appreciate those of you who have reached out. And I think it was, I don't know, probably show 6 or something like that, where I said if you want like a blue gun and a training gun, to let me know, and I'll hook you up at them with costs. And I've had quite a few people reach out to me on them. So that's
I had a guy not too long ago ask me how to get hold of you for that, and I said, yeah, it's info@squaredawaycustoms.com. So I'm glad that happened. Cool. Yeah. Those of you that are out there, definitely please take advantage of that, and remember that Squared Away Customs has got a discount code for members of the Shooters Nation audience. Discount code is Shooters Nation, all one word. So do that and save some money. And if you're law enforcement, military, educators, EMTs, things like that, first responders, they have a heroes discount. Shoot them an email and ask about that as well. info@squaredawaycustoms. Jordan, what about you, man? Other than your phone number, which we plastered across the internet for you for the first 30 minutes.
Well, that's okay. Being Amish, they're going to have to call my phone shanty, or just send me mail, the old-fashioned way, or load up the family in the buggy and head down the nearest gravel road.
Right. People might think I'm joking, but I mean, you truly do have an Amish background, so anyway, you're a good sport about that. Thank you.
Absolutely. If you'd like to reach me, you can find me on Facebook, Jordan Linscheid. Linscheid spelled Linschheid, or jordanlinscheid@gmail.com. It's my email. So if you don't already have my direct phone number, feel free. If you have any questions or thoughts, or want to tell me how annoying my voice is, feel free to reach out any of those ways. So
that's awesome.
Appreciate you having me on tonight, David.
Nah, thank you for coming. It's always good to just get together with you guys and talk. And this was fun to talk about the NRA show. And we went down some bunny trails I didn't know that we were necessarily going to, but it's always cool when we do that. So again, thanks to the live audience for joining us tonight and sticking with us through the technical difficulties. Special thanks, of course, to our Patreon members. You guys are directly supporting the show and making future episodes possible with your generosity. And if you want to support the show, you can always do so by visiting shootersnation.com/donate. Not required, but it definitely helps keep the lights on. We also want to point out, as Mark really, you said it last time, and I want to reiterate, we want to hear from you folks. So if you have ideas of people you would like for us to interview, if you've got contacts with people that you would like for us to interview, or if you have subjects that you would like to see us cover in the weeks ahead, we really want to know. We've had a couple people on Instagram say, hey, I've got a question. I'd like to ask you guys this and have y'all talk about it in the future. By all means, shoot that over in an email. Go to shootersnation.com. There is a contact us form, or you can just shootersnation.com/idea and use that and kick those questions over to us. We're glad to spend a few minutes each episode and answer listener questions. That's really what it's all about. Thinking about some cool things coming up. We got an episode coming up soon about why you should get training and what beyond just your carry permit. We're working on an episode about urban survival craft, and that'll be more of I'll give you a teaser and say, so you've got your bug out bag, but you're 30 miles from home. What does that mean? How are you going to get home if the travel infrastructure is shut down? Things that you should be thinking about. We're working on an episode that I think is going to be pretty cool about church security with a person who's done it, and they have an extraordinarily impressive background. U.S. Navy SEAL, worked for Department of Homeland Security, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's actually, this is somebody that knows what they're talking about. And if you are thinking about how you can make your church security better, or even just start security or a safety team, that would be a neat conversation to get in on. But always, as always, go to our website, sign up for the News Blast email list. That's how you'll get the link each time to come on and watch live shows. I will caveat, however, for legitimately operational security, the gentleman that will be talking to us about the church security, we most likely will not do that one as a live show, just because there are reasons why we don't need to have him on camera. So anyway, that is what it is, and we'll always try to respect that. Gentlemen, I guess that's it.
Actually, we have Kevin out in chat with a question.
Okay, cool.
How does the SHOT Show compare to the NRA show? And have you guys been to SHOT?
Not been to SHOT. I've been to NRA.
I've been to both. SHOT Show is much bigger. You have many of the same vendors, but the booths are much larger at SHOT Show. I mean, there's some of them that are like at SHOT Show. There's like stairs and multiple floors within the Smith & Wesson booth. It's a much bigger facility. It's broken up a little bit different at SHOT Show in that there's multiple rooms and multiple levels. So sometimes it gets very confusing, and I always found it to be very frustrating because it's really easy to kind of lose your way as to which floor am I on, which booth am I at, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
So far, all the NRAs I've been to, it's basically one big room, which makes it easier because if you're at 6,200 and you need to go to 7,300, you know how to get there. But at SHOT Show, with the numbers like 6,200 and 7,300, could be on different floors. So that's somewhat challenging. SHOT Show is made for industry professionals only, or military or law enforcement. So it's somewhat challenging to get in unless you have some sort of connection or you are in the industry. Yeah. But NRA is open to the public, so it's a little bit of a different dynamic there too, because you have just random civilians wandering the show as a normal gun show would be. NRA is free as long as you're a member. SHOT Show is not. I think it's $150 as a to get into SHOT Show per person. So yeah, I mean it's I would say, if I was to guess, I would say NRA as far as like booth size, spaces, is about half the size, which is still very big, very big. But yeah, so hopefully that answers your question.
Very cool. Yeah, Kevin, sorry that I didn't see your question over there. I wasn't paying as much attention to the chat window as I should have, even though I had just said, hey, please use the chat window. So my mistake. Thanks for sticking with us, man. I hope that answered your question. Cool. Well, guys, we survived the second live show despite everything trying to conspire against us, those Russians and the collusion and all that stuff. So it was fun. It's good to talk to y'all again, as always. Mark, welcome back to your home. I'm sure that your family was glad to see you come back from there.
That's for sure. It was definitely nice.
Did your son freak out when he saw you without a beard? You're muted. That silly thing. Yeah.
He definitely looked at me like he wasn't quite sure what was missing, right?
Yeah.
But then he came into it pretty quickly, and now he's fine.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I'm glad I'm sure you were glad to see them, and they were glad to see you. So that's cool, man. Yeah, glad to have you back.
It was kind of bittersweet because for the first time in 3 months, I was able to sleep through a night.
Yeah.
For a few nights, but the guilt was pretty hard because I know the wife was still back here at home and doing it all by herself, and
she's a trooper.
Still sleep. Yeah, being a trooper, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, shout out to her, not only for that, but just putting up with us every week for doing this. So always appreciate that, and my wife doing the same thing. So, yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think that's a wrap. We'll get this thing packaged up and made into a podcast, and that'll go out Sunday. Those of you that are watching live, if you're wondering when you can watch this episode again, you can enjoy that in all of my misery as things went south I'll re-release that on Sunday, when we do the podcast, when it goes live. So anyway, appreciate you guys sticking with us, and we'll see you again next week. And until then, please be safe out there. And good.
The preceding segment was a production of the Shooters Nation podcast. Visit us online at shootersnation.com.